I've just created a block. It really doesn't matter what it is. And the select button is this one up here. Now, normally, I suppose, unless we've looked at it, we've just left it in window mode. So we can draw and select whatever we want to select in that way. Now, that's handy in one sense, but it selects everything under the window. Now, it may be I only want to select the faces, or I may only want to select the lines. Now, I found it a bit difficult with the select tool as to what order to do this in. So we're going to do it sort of backwards, if you like, because that will make more sense. Is that with the select box up here, let's zoom that in a bit. You can see we can have a window selection, a freeform, or a paint selection, which I'll come on to in a moment. We have a selection tools, where we can then select by name, by boundary, size, etc., which I'm not intending to cover. It's a bit like where you can click and select an item in the tree, and then that's selecting by name, as it were. You'd have to type the name in of that body or whatever it is. A component drag I don't intend covering either, or selection priority, because I don't think you're going to use them, to be honest with you. The selection filters is one that we want to look at, and for that, let me just get that box out the way a moment and bring up this. I've done a bit of a screen grab to explain it a bit easier rather than looking at the small screen, because whether we're using window select, which is the window I just showed you, or the freeform, which is where we just draw a shape around it, or a paint selection, which I'll show you in a moment, where we just drag the cursor across the items as if we're painting. We also have these selections down here. Now, in default, it will be select all. Now, the ones down here at the bottom, work, text, spline, etc., etc., you can work those out for yourself, because they've all got the same effect as the top ones I'm going to show you. So at the moment, it would be on select all. So having shown you where that is, let's go back to real time. And you can see I've got it set to select all. And what that means, as I said, with the window, it selects everything under the window. If I come down and switch that off, and instead just put on edges, now when I do a window, it just picks up the edges for me. And then I can do work on those edges. For example, I could put a fillet on them, which doesn't work very well because of the shape. Now, there's times when you might think, oh, well, that's okay, I can click them individually, which you can do. And therefore, the use of the select tool, I think, is going to be a bit limited in the way in which you work. But I'll show you a couple of little things I found out in a moment. The paint select tool is there. As I go through, it will select the edges. So if, let's go back again, if I wanted to select, say, just, a handful of edges, I could go and just select the edges I want. Whereas the window function will select all the edges within the window. If we go back to faces and have the faces only, then the same thing happens then with our tool. It will select the faces that I cross over. That's a difficult one to get into there, because you've got to cross the other ones. But you can see how it can be advantageous when you want to select a number of edges or a number of faces that you can apply then a tool to, which we've covered in previous weeks, as it were. I'm going to go back somewhere, where's it gone, to our bottle jack again, to try and explain a bit more about this. So on something like this, if we go into appearance, and I want to start adding colors, say, to things, so let's pull up the red and the green just for a starter. I'm going to go across here because I want to make this nut a green nut. Well, it's covered this other bit as well. It gets difficult, as you can see, actually picking out the one I want. Whereas if I go into select and change the filters, and they get, again, now within this one you've got less filters available to you, and that will vary depending upon what mode you're in. If we come down to take off that one and put faces only, now I can come in and I can just highlight the bits that I want. A lot easier than when I was trying to drag them all before. Whereas with the body one, if you remember, I couldn't get at them that easy. Let's just go back on that one so you can see. Let's switch on the bodies or select all. And you can see now is that actually getting in, you can get there, and if you zoom right in, you'll be able to get at it. But it starts to get a little bit awkward. So that's sort of the selection tool. I would imagine the Windows Select and Freeform. The Freeform I've not got a lot of use for, because it will connect everything under it. And you can see that I've got edges on as well on that one. With the part selection, again, that's handy. Let's just get rid of all that a moment. So if I go into the paint selector on something like this, this is useful because I can pick up the bits that I want to do something with, rather than trying to find them and highlight them. You can just paint across. As I say, selection tools, you can select by name and you can click on that, and then you've got to type a name in. So you would type in one of the names on the left hand side and it would select that. So if we were to put in there, say, pump lever, I've not tried this before, but we'll see what happens. And there it highlights that particular part for you. Self-explanatory, I think. And you've got select by boundary, by size, etc. Composite draggers, I'm not dealing with that one. And the select priority, again, I'm not sure we want to deal with that one. So I'm going to show you now a little thing I picked up which might help why I found it a little bit useful. I'll go back now to something I've been working on, which John alluded to early on, and that's this coach. Now, if I want to alter something, let me go back into normal mode a moment, make sure they're all on. Right. And I go and I want to make some work here, so, and I just want to pick up bits. And you can see how it gets a little bit, I can't, you've got to hover and zoom in. Whereas if I go into select and take the filters off and just put the body faces on, it's a lot quicker and a lot easier to select the faces that you want. A lot quicker. Another little trick that I picked up with this, which I found was rather funny but rather useful. This is a body of a coach I've been doing. It's a third class GWR 4-wheel coach, and I want to convert one of them into a brake wagon. And looking at some of the brake wagons, it's almost the same coach, but these back windows are all blocked in. So I thought, right, well, the easy way of doing this without tons of drawing is to use the extrude tool, click on that face, and bring it forward. Come on. And I've blocked off the windows I wanted. And then I could shell that out to put some electronics in there for the lighting. But the thing is, it's blocked out the windows as well. And it's removed, if you look on this one, I've got this inner rebate. It's removed the inner rebate as well on the blocked out windows. That's because I've extruded that end panel which goes full width to the wagon. So the only things that are left are protrusions from the main face of the wagon. Now if I decide to take that back, we'll cancel it. So the next thing I thought, well, let's have a look at doing that face command instead. And what I did with that one was to go in here, make sure we're on faces, which we are, and then I highlight the face and I move it. A lot quicker than extrude as well. And you can see now the windows are left intact. We haven't lost our rebates on them. You can see it there. There are panels there. You can see the rebate is there, which was lost. So it's handy for extruding a face. And you might have a situation where you have more than one face interacting with each other, and extrude can sometimes be a bit difficult because extrude wants to extrude the body. What's happened with this one, if you notice, it extrudes the face rather than the entire body, and that I found was quite useful in producing this particular wagon. Going back to this one again, I'm on face select, aren't I? Yeah. So again, picking up the faces is useful. The other way of doing it, of course, is to click on the face, holding the shift key down on a PC. I'm going to clue what it is on the Mac, and you can select them that way as well. So really, whether you use the select or not, I suppose, is up to you. If I've only got, say, if I wanted to put edges on all these, then going down here and changing that to edges, and I could go into Windows Select, select the lot, and then I could go into a chamfer, and we'll put a and that would chamfer all the edges. We get a queer shape, don't we? Which avoids me having to go around clicking them all. But you may find it's handy even in this mode, because I'm sure you've all done drawings which are tightly packed with detail, and you've clicked on an edge and it's hit the wrong edge, or it's hit the wrong face while you're trying to get an edge, or when you're trying to get a face it's hit the edge, whereas putting that filter on there restricts. Now I think these first ones up here are handy. The text one is particularly handy, I find, because if you, and I haven't got a sample I'm afraid, if you're doing embossed text on a face and you want to alter individual letters, it can be a nightmare sometimes trying to highlight them when you've got it on select everything. So going down to text only works. A lot of these other ones, you might use them if you're doing specialized work, but I don't really see the point in labouring the point and going through them in great detail. I'll try and ask any questions afterwards, but at that point I'm going to stop, because the select is basically what we've done. There's not a lot I feel you can do with it in the sort of work we're doing. I think it would be very handy in very highly complex engineering drawings, but the sort of work we do in model railways, I don't think most of it is going to be something we're not going to use.